Bashar al-Assad to step down. In fact, they are offering him safe passage.
And this offer comes as rebel forces say the killing of 4 senior members last week of Assad's regime has dealt them a severe blow.
Joining us now in Washington, Clifford May, president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, with his reaction to all of this. Good morning, Mr. May.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Jacqueline.
What do if you, on the face of it, as we sit and watch all these developments, it looks like we're seeing the beginning of the end for Assad. And yet we're told constantly that he holds all the reins of power in Syria and still controls a military that is far more powerful than anything the opposition can put up.
Well, I think he holds a weakening hand. The war, and it is a civil war at this point, is getting closer and closer to him. People who are very important to him have now been killed. That suggests to others that they may not be protected, and maybe they want to get away from the fighting, and they might leave him. I don't think we absolutely know that the end is near. Nevertheless, he does have cards to play. I think there's concern, legitimate concern, for the chemical weapons he's been moving around. So it's very hard to say where the end will come. But one thing, it does seem clear, the opposition is continuing, is in no mood to compromise, no mood to back down. And if I were Assad, I would be having plenty of sleepless nights.
Well, no doubt, and maybe, this threat to use chemical weapons should foreign forces invade or choose to increase the pressure is a reaction to that fear that they are feeling. But let me ask you this, because we know there is a jihadist element at play, different groups, Sunni, Shia, Alawites, and there is a very real concern, as you may know, that this could spread beyond Syria, that this no longer is about Syria. Many are foreseeing this spreading to neighboring Iraq, for example, and already today we see bombings happening.
Well, we've had bombings in Iraq for a very long time, and in terms of this being a wider insurrection, that's already been the case. If there hadn't been a revolution in Tunisia and in Egypt, there wouldn't be a revolution now in Syria. I do think that if Assad falls, people in Iran may think that they want to revisit what they attempted in 2009, which was the overthrow of the Islamist dictatorship there. I'm a little bit less worried about Iraq, where people do have some freedom and some outlets and can vote. It's a very imperfect and fledgling democracy, to be sure. But there also are things that are very specific to Syria. Most importantly, this 40-year dynasty of the Assad family. It has been oppressive. It's been very closely allied with Iran. People are tired of it. They think it's enough, and now that they've begun to try to throw it off and they see that possibility, I think they will continue to do so.
Mr. May, we've been hearing from the beginning of this conflict in Syria that one of the problems the opposition has is that there are so many disparate groups, some of whom are almost at war with one another. The only thing they have in common is that they all oppose the regime of Bashar Assad. Who is supplying these people with intelligence? They're obviously getting that. Who is supplying them with arms? They're obviously getting that. Who is supporting the opposition?
The opposition is a very broad coalition, no question about it. They don't agree on everything, and if Assad falls, they could come to blows one against the other, or they could sit down and try to develop a modus vivendi, a way of living together and a way of governing the country that recognizes the legitimate rights and the aspirations of the different groups. You have the Alawites, who of course are a small minority, but that's what Assad is, and they've pretty much been ruling. You have the Sunnis, who are the majority. You have a small Shiite number of Shiites. You have a fairly large Kurdish population in a discrete area in the northeast of the country. You have Christians, you have Druze, and others. And then within the opposition, you have secular, liberal kind of forces who we'd be very comfortable with. And you also have jihadis on both sides. You have jihadis who are supportive of Assad because he is so closely tied with Iran, and you have others who are more closely tied to al-Qaeda. Now, it seems to me that what we should be doing and should have been doing is supporting those people that we think are the good guys. If we support the good guys, we give them money, we give them guns, they're more powerful. If we don't, and other people are giving the bad guys guns and money, they'll be more powerful. So who's supporting the bad guys? Well, Iran obviously is supporting Assad and anybody who's with him. And then you have various groups that are supporting the coalition, but they may not be supporting the forces within the coalition we think are most important to support.
Right. What about prosecuting the bad guys? I mean, as you know, there are allegations of war crimes. So here we have the Arab League offering Assad safe harbor. Who's going to prosecute those believed to be behind these war crimes?
Well, I mean, theoretically, various courts in the international community, I don't have a lot of confidence in that based on past experience, and I don't think that's where our attention should be focused right now. From a humanitarian point of view, our attention should be focused on getting this over with, I think, which means Assad leaves and you try to help broker a peace in a way of bringing all the factions and different ethno-religious groups in Syria together to figure out a reasonable way to govern. I think that's probably most important. I also think it is very much, I agree with the opposition. I know many members of the opposition, some with whom I feel very comfortable, some with whom I don't. But I agree with them. It's time for Assad to go. This regime cannot persist. And by the way, if the regime does persist, unlikely, it's a big victory for Iran. If the regime does fall, well, it's somewhat of a big defeat for Iran.
Clifford May's been joining us. He's president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you. We appreciate this.